Hello again, viewers, and greetings, fellow space travelers. This is Thorn of Night, and welcome to episode 8 of my new version of my tree breeding guide for Minecraft for Forestry and Extra Trees. And in this episode, I'm going to be covering the silver lime branch of trees. But before I go on, I would like to mention that this map is available for download. I will have a link in the description below so you can go get it, so you can poke around in here yourself, do some practicing on here without messing up stuff on your own map if you want, and also to explore the tree of trees that I have at the tail end of this, so you can sort of see the steps that you're going to need to take in order to get the different trees that you want, the procedure for going from one species to the next to the next. But let me go ahead and get started here. There's quite a few in this episode that I wanted to cover. So we're going to start off with the silver lime tree. And this is an early on tree that you'll be getting pretty close to the start. It takes the apple oak and the silver birch to make it. And it is a tier 2 tree, which means it's pretty much it is the next step above the base trees, which is what those are. And what they look like, they have a little bit of variation in size and leaf output and trunk height and all that. They can grow up to a maximum height of 9 blocks or 9 meters tall. And on average, you're going to expect to get about 5.8 logs and about 4.2 saplings. Now, that's an average over 20 trees. If I did more trees, I'm sure I could have more refined output, but that's a good enough output. You know that you're going to get positive return on saplings, and there's always going to be some logs. Hello, butterfly. Now, the tree does like to have this sort of diamond shape, of vertical diamond or whatever, for the leaf arrangement, and so therefore it will require a gap of 2 between the sapling and any wall that it's near if you want it to grow up nice and big and strong. I don't think you can get them to grow closer than that. Diagonally, sure, but right next to each other, I think there has to be at least a gap of 2 in order to get it to work. But it does not give any fruit or nuts or anything like that. All you're going to get is this lime wood, which turns into these planks. You can see the trunk there, and there's the cross section of the logs, and that's what the planks look like. But that is the silver lime tree. Now let's move on to this next one. There are actually a few ways of making this, and it's called the white willow. But I decided to put it in with this episode because it seems like it belongs in this family to me. I may be wrong, but it just seems like it's right to be in this family. Now, there are 3 ways of making the white willow. The silver lime plus the silver birch, the apple oak plus the silver lime, and the apple oak plus the silver birch. But there's one other criteria that you're going to need to know in order to get this to breed. You're going to need to take them either to a swamp or a jungle in order to get the white willow out of crossbreeding any 2 of those. Any other biome, unless it fits the bill as far as the biome registry or whatever that's called, it will not grow in anything other than those really damp biomes. So I just say go look for a swamp or go look for a jungle. Jungle's a little bit easier to find as far as my experience goes. But one thing to note about these trees, they do have a width requirement of 4 between the sapling and any surface in order to get all the leaves out there, and there is a very big reason for that. If you have these willow trees interacting with other blocks, like there's a block update nearby, the trees, the leaves that are sticking out the farthest will start to dissolve. So if I were to punch that one right there, starting right there, it would cause block updates where it would decide whether or not to keep them, and you would end up with just this little cap. And you can sort of see that happened here. When one tree grew, another one lost all the saplings. I didn't do this, it just happened on its own. It had the curtain all the way around, and then there it goes. But you can see on the inside, it can grow these vines, so you can use that as a way to get the vines. But anyway, if you want to grow these, you're going to need a clearing of about 8 tall, and all the way across you're going to want a clearing of 9 in both directions total, in order to get these comfortably grown. And take care to not place blocks next to them either, because that counts as a block update and it'll do the math. But per tree, on average, you're going to get about 5.5 logs and a whole bunch of saplings, more than 10 saplings on average. And it will give you this willow wood, which you can, oh, it's almost nighttime, which you can see here, sort of a greenish tinge to the planks, and you can see what the logs look like there. And it is a tier 2 tree also. Moving on to the next guy, we've got the white poplar. And it is a thin, slender little tree, but it does require white willow and either silver birch, silver lime, or apple oak to make. Not too picky, but you have to have gotten the white willow first in order to make it. Now, the reason why I have this orange wool here is because the sapling yield on these things is kind of low. There's not much in the line of leaf blocks there, and what leaf blocks there are don't really put out all that many saplings. You're going to get on average per tree about 6.6 logs, but only about 1.7 saplings, not that many. And you'll get this poplar wood here, which has a sort of greenish yellow, almost lime color, I'd say, for the meat and as well as the planks, and there's even green on the trunk itself, on the bark. But they can grow up to a height of 10 meters, so make sure they've got room. Don't need much room, just a one gap on all 4 directions around the sapling in order to have room to grow. And they do grow right next to each other, real close. So you can cram a whole bunch in a little bitty area. And that is a tier 3 tree, so it requires the tier 2 trees in order to make them, so therefore it's a tier 3. Moving on to the next species, we've got the common ash, and it's going to require a silver lime and red spruce. And there are a few different variations on the shape and design of the leaf blocks, as well as the trunk height. On average, you're going to expect to get about 5.4 logs and about 3.5 saplings per tree. No fruit or anything, but there is this ash wood here, sort of a yellowish tinge wood for the planks and the logs. They can grow to a height of 8 meters or 8 blocks tall, and that's pretty uniform. There's some slight variation though, but that's what the logs look like. Kind of neat from a distance if you got a bunch of them. And this is a tier 3 tree. Moving on to the next one, we have the Whitebeam, which takes the common ash, which we just got over there, and the silver birch to make these guys. And as you can see, there is some variation in the tree type. They can grow to a height of 7 meters, 7 blocks tall, but they are the end of the line. There's no new species that come from this specific species. You can make hybrids out of them, but there's no new species that come from it. That's a pretty butterfly. On average per tree, you can expect to get 4.8 logs, just under 5, and almost 2.5 saplings per tree. This one will obviously yield fewer saplings than this one. No fruit or anything like that, but you'll get this Whitebeam wood, and it's a pretty neat little color white. I like it, especially next to the bark. That's kind of cool. But there you go, 7 tall, and kind of shockingly vibrant saplings, especially from a distance. If you got a whole bunch of them, they stand out. Moving on to, before I forget, this is a tier 4 tree for the Whitebeam here. Moving on to the next one, we have got the common elm, and these can have a lot of leaves and some variation. But in order to make this, you're going to need the common ash and the bullpine. Bullpine was covered in another video, so go ahead and take a look at that if you need to know how to make those. But on average per tree, you're going to get about 8.6, about 8.5 logs, maybe more. But a whole bunch, more than 20 saplings on average per tree. It's a bunch. No fruit but you will get this elm wood, and it is an end of the line tree, so no new species after it. But that's what the wood looks like, and as you can see, it can grow to a height of 11 meters or 11 blocks. So give yourself room there. And also, it is going to need a bunch of space, at least 3, definitely 4 for some of the variances, width between the sapling and any surface if you want to get all the varieties. But that is a tier 4 tree. Moving on to the next guy, we have got the common hornbeam, which is another one that comes from the ash. Plus, this time it's the mundane larch. And you will get these guys, and there is some variation with these as well. They grow to a height of 8, it looks like. Yes, 8. And on average, you can expect to get about almost 5.5 logs per tree, and just more than 4 saplings. So definitely a positive return on the sapling usage. They do need a little bit of space to grow. They don't like to be crammed next to each other. So this will need about 3 spaces in order to get the full width of it between the sapling and any surface. And there's no fruit, but there is that hornbeam wood here that you can see there. And that is a level 4, a tier 4 tree. Alright, moving on to a new sub-branch of the silver lime. This is called the sugar maple. And it requires silver lime and the mundane larch to grow. And you can see it's got a sort of orangish tinge to the wood. That's what the planks look like. There is no fruit, but you'll get this maple wood. And that's what causes that sort of orangish color. And these are sort of pear or bell-shaped leaf clusters with a little variation in the height and distribution of leaves. They can grow to a height of 13 meters, so do keep that in mind. They do need a little space, a gap of 3 there. On average, you're going to expect to get about 9 logs and a little bit more than 10 saplings per tree. There are a bunch of leaves, so therefore there's going to be higher yield of saplings. They tend to fluff next to each other if they're offset, but they won't grow any closer than 3 apart, it looks like, between the sapling that grows and any other solid blocks. Moving on, oh, I'm sorry, I almost forgot, it is a tier 3 tree. Moving on to the next one, we've got the Sycamore Fig, and it also requires the common ash and this sugar maple here, and it is the end of its line. On average, you're going to expect to get about 6.5 logs per, and just about almost 4 saplings per tree. This one does give you some fruit or nut. I guess that's a fruit output. You'll get the figs as well as the fig planks, sort of an orangish color there. Now the figs are used, I can never remember if that's a fruit or a nut as far as this game is concerned. Let's go ahead and go usage on it. You will get seed oil, so it counts it as a nut or a seed or whatever. 0.05 buckets, so 50 millibuckets of seed oil for 1 fig. And that's what these little nodules are. You can see that some of them are different colors. That one's brighter than that one. And they turn into these darker colors when they are fully mature. And this here is a crossbred leaf block. You can only see it because I'm wearing the spectacles that are useful in finding the crossbred leaves. But anyway, these guys can grow to a height of 8 meters tall. And they do need a gap of 2 between the sapling and any other surface in order to get them to grow. And you can see the logs there. And this is a tier 4 tree. Moving on to the next one, bright red leaves on this. It's called the red maple. It requires the sugar maple as well as silver lime in order to make it, and it is an end of the line tree. You can expect to get about almost 5 logs per tree, a little less for some of them, and almost 3 saplings per tree. There's a bunch of leaves in there, so you're going to get a positive yield out of it. They can grow to a height of 8, but that's just for that little top thing. You could probably squeeze them into a height of 7 area to get them to grow. but they do need a little space and breathing room. There are some variances on the leaf orientations. As you can see, it needs a little bit of room to grow, but you can get this nice maple wood once again, this sort of orangish color, or dull orange, whatever you want to call it. And this is a tier 4 tree. You can see how closely they grow together there. Moving on to the next one, we've got Sweetgum. And this also takes the sugar maple and the mundane larch. It is an end-of-the-line tree, and you can see a red block here. And that red block is because you're not necessarily going to get one sapling per tree. I actually got fewer than one sapling out of 20 trees. They are almost all uniform. All of these that grew here and all of the other ones that I did for working on this map are this exact same orientation or arrangement rather for the leaf blocks. But there's one other type of arrangement here, and it has, where I have these black wool, it has one more leaf block sticking out. I couldn't get any to grow here, but for the maximum size, you're going to need a gap of 2, but you really don't need it. They can grow close together. Wait, aha, here's one right here. Sticks out. Aha! Neat. Didn't even know that was there. Anyway, about 3 logs, well, exactly 3 logs per tree, and almost one sapling. You're going to need to use a grafter if you want to grow your crop. And if you do decide to put this in an automatic farm setup, keep an eye on it. But there's no fruit that comes from it, but you will get this pale orange sweet gum wood. Kind of neat looking color there. But that is going to be it for this branch of trees. This is a tier 4 tree. Sorry about that. But the silver lime line does continue on through the hill cherry, which I'm going to continue on with some more of the rest of the series, as well as the teak and some other branches, used trees in this. So we're not done with the stuff in this. This end of the line just simply means that there's no more species that come from that specific species. So as you can see, there's a lot more to do. But this is going to be it for this episode. So thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section, and I will hopefully be able to get your message. If I do, I will respond as quickly and thoroughly as possible. I hope this was helpful. I tried to cover everything that I remembered, but if I miss anything, be sure to let me know. I will try to fix it. But if you do like this episode and this project that I'm doing here, please feel free to leave a like. I do appreciate that. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe so you know when my future stuff comes out. But I'm going to go ahead and cut off here. So thank you once again for watching. This is Thorn of Night, and I will talk to you later.